What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the shop today. I wanted to bring you along on, sorry, one sec, I'm looking for tools. Wanted to bring you along on a project that I've been working on for quite some time, actually, trying to figure out why this John Deere zero-turn rider is running, I guess we'll just say rough in general. A few different things it's doing, and you'll hear this in a minute, but it's misfiring really bad at idle most of the time. And if it's not doing that, if you are at high speed and kick the blade in, it will bog down and just cough and backfire and misfire. Finally, it'll sometimes come out of it, and then it'll occasionally do that again. This had an issue months ago when it first came in where it had dropped a valve guide, and so it had basically no compression on one side because the valve had fallen out, the push rod was sitting there, and that cylinder was not functioning. So got that figured out, put a new head on that side, got everything adjusted correctly, and at the time was also having spark issues on that same side. So went ahead and put a new coil on it, and since then have replaced the other coil just because we thought we might as well do both. So it has two new coils on it, but I noticed something interesting today, and I want to show you that here while I was troubleshooting things, and so I'll go ahead and flip you around and show you what it was doing. Okay, so what I did, for starters, is I went ahead and took the air filter and the intake off just to see things a little bit better, and because I thought it had carburetor issues at the time while it was running, but I found something interesting in the process. I took my bulb style spark tester here. I'm going to start it up, hopefully it'll misfire for us, and I want to show you the spark on the one side, and then we'll go over to the other side and compare. So excuse the volume here, but I'm going to go ahead and start it and show you what that looks like. So that's one side, and I will tell you, unfortunately the camera isn't picking up everything perfectly. The sparks are just too fast, even at idle, for it to pick it up. So it looks a lot worse on video than it really is, but it is bad. So let's go over to the other side and compare. Hopefully this is going to show up okay. So I hope you could see the difference. This side, the flashing is not truly as many times as it's sparking, but over here you can see that it's consistent. It's just bam, 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 bam. Over here, it was kind of off for a while, on, off, on for a while. And so I am almost certain that we have a coil issue on this side. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take that coil out. I think I've only got a used one to replace it with, but anything at all is going to show us a difference, I'm hoping. So go ahead and take that off and swap it, and I'll show you the difference. Down to the coil, and I noticed one thing a little bit interesting as a possibility is I think the gap is a little bit wide on the lower portion of the coil. I've got my business card in there, which is I think about a 15,000th gap is what you want. And I've noticed it feels pretty good on the top and the center, but the lower portion seems to be too wide. So while I'm here, I'm just going to go ahead and re-gap this and give it a try. We'll see if there's any difference, and if not, we'll go ahead and swap this coil to that used one that I've got. I may have just made another very important discovery here. The coil in question on the, I guess we'll say the left side as we're looking at the flywheel, was on correctly. It had the spark plug wire facing the engine and the kill wire away from the engine. You can see where the bolts were on this side. That's the way that was in. The other coil, looking down in there, is backwards. That wire's on the outside. So we need to pull that coil, flip it around, regap it, put this coil back on the way it was and regap it, and then see what we get. Now that we got that straightened out, I'm going to do my best to hold this stuff up off of the crankshaft so that I can run this without reassembling everything, just in case it didn't work. That way we don't have to take it apart again. So give me a second to fire it up here, and I'll show you how it sounds. The new coil is installed, and this will be the first try. I haven't run it yet, so we'll see what we get, if there's any difference. I think we got it. The one thing I notice, at this point I have the air filter, the intake and the air filter off. It's running just a touch lean. You can kind of hear it. It's hard to explain what that sounds like, but it's like it barely is starting to run out of gas and then come back up and then dip a little bit and come back up. That will be solved once I put the air filter back on, but I would say our ignition and misfire problems are fixed.